Guys, what's going on? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. We're going to a ton of shows in February, so definitely be on the lookout for more live videos, interviews, things of that nature. Got a ton of awesome stuff planned for 2018, especially February. Super stoked on what we're going to be doing. So definitely make sure to subscribe, make sure that thumbs up so you don't miss out on anything coming up. Like I'm saying, some real good stuff. So tonight we're going to be talking about Good Tiger's new record, We Will All Be Gone. So I've heard of this band for a while. They were actually on the most recent tour with I the Mighty and Hail the Sun, which I actually got to see them in person, which was really awesome as well. But I've been a big fan of Elliot Coleman's work. I think he is probably one of the best vocalists in the scene, for sure. Completely and utterly underrated, in my opinion, as well. And when he announced that he was going to be in Good Tiger a while ago, I was really kind of excited about it. I kind of missed out on the first record, but then I got into this second one, and I know that they were working on stuff, and they played some new tracks on the tour with I the Mighty. So I wanted to go through this whole record, kind of give my thoughts and opinions on each track, go give some pros and cons on the record, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track on the list is The Devil Thinks I'm Sinking. Really loving the guitar intro of this track. It just kind of accents the really great melodic sensibility in this track. It also complements well with Elliot's smooth sort of falsetto, and the way another cool like effect or layer to this track is just a different sort of vocal patterns and things of that nature in this track. I think they are super cool, and they add this sort of etherealness to the beginning of this track that makes it really unique, and definitely one that when you're listening through to the record many times, it was one of those records that kind of just stuck out to me as one that I was just excited to get back to listening to. But the song definitely kind of kicks into more of the rock and kind of post-hardcore around the minute mark. And the instrumentals give me that sort of Hail the Sun, Fall of Troy sort of vibe to it, which I think is really cool. And I really just love how Elliot's vocals take this track to another level. I think they are really the highlight of this track and a highlight of a lot of the tracks off the record, just because he's such an insane vocalist. But this one in particular was one that stuck out to me for sure in terms of just vocal prowess. I think he kind of nailed it on this one. Also, the track has some really great groove and bounce to it, which also obviously lends to the all of the guitars, the instrumentation. I think that kind of plays into effect in that song. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Float On. I believe this one was also a single. I don't know if The Devil Thinks I'm Sinking was a single, but I know that Float On was for sure. This one has more of a gritty sort of bark to it, especially in the guitar department, which I appreciate, and it kind of differentiates the tracks a little bit. I also like how the guitars kind of follow the same as the drum pattern and vice versa. I like how they kind of play off of each other. I think that's really cool, and something a little bit like underrated to the track in my opinion. I like the more melodic approach in the pre-chorus, and then it kind of adds a nice contrast to really most of the rest of the track, which is kind of more like, again, rock and post-hardcore, which is really nice. The chorus feels like the focal point of this track in particular, for me, and the bridge really had some really nice ambient space that just kind of makes the track a little bit more fluid, there's a little bit more breaks and kind of patterns within the track that make this one really kind of stand out as well. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is Such a Kind Stranger. This one, I'm liking the less aggressiveness of this track. I think that the first two kind of had that sort of rock flavor to it, and this one is again not as aggressive, which I appreciate. It's still in that rock realm, but not nearly as heavy, I think, in my opinion. I also like that they utilize more of Elliot's more mid-range in terms of his vocals, and there's like nice subtle hints of his falsettos and the harmonies of the track, which I definitely like his mid-range a lot more. I mean, his falsettos are just like primo too, but I really kind of feel like he develops his sort of character of his vocals in that sort of mid range, and just makes you just feel stuff in the track. The instrumentation is really great in this track as well. More specifically, the drumming, I would say, it's something that definitely stuck out to me. It has this great groove, this real awesome cadence, and it has a nice punch to it, which I think they went with Nolly again, from X Periphery. I think he's still kind of in Periphery, but you can definitely tell that's his like mixing, producing style. He's really got these tracks really have a great punch to them, which I appreciate. And it just has this nice flair, and it just overall adds to the appeal of this track. The chorus is super catchy and infectious to me, and is one of my favorite choruses off the entire record for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is Blue Shift. I know that this one was a single as well, and this one includes more of the electronic element, and it has a little bit more of a subtleness to it than the rest of the track. I feel like the chorus is the focal point of this track as well. It kind of hits its sort of peak at the chorus part, and you can hear more of the bass in the verses, which I appreciate. But I feel like this one kind of felt flat for me. It had this sort of lackluster appeal to me. I was listening to this one even obviously prior to having the album out, but I wasn't really like certain on it. It wasn't one that I was like, okay, this is great. Unlike Float On, The Devil Thinks I'm Singing, some of the other tracks, Grip Shoes, that were already released. I felt like this one was going to be kind of the weaker tracks off the record. It was definitely one that didn't stick out to me, but hey, it might stick out to you guys when you go to listen to it. So we're going to move into track number 5, which is Salt of the Earth. This one, in certain parts, I get that sort of Artifacts Parado vibe, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. So I definitely like that sort of vibe that they're getting off with this track. I also love just the overall grooviness of this track. It really has a great like rhythmicness to it, which I like. Just the sort of guitar like riffs play well with this sort of more, I guess, rhythmic patterned drums and the bass. I think it just works out in a really nice way. The structure just fits super well on this track. And I definitely feel like Elliot shines a lot in this track in particular. I think he really delves into his entire range, anything from like kind of the lower mid range to the sort of higher falsetto-y sort of range. It's definitely one of my favorite choruses off the record as well too, much like Such a Kind Stranger. But this one just got me for sure. The structure of this one is just masterfully done, and it's definitely one of their best songs off the record for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 6, which is Grip Shoes. Um, this kind of combines all of my favorite aspects up to this point of Good Tiger. It really has this nice rock flair to it, but I think it balances out with really great melodies and great lead lines that are followed up obviously by their guitar players and just kind of the overall vibe of the track. I feel like Elliot uses a lot of his range and vocal capabilities in this track, much like Salt of the Earth. I feel like those two kind of work out the best. I also like that he kind of sneaks in a little bit of rasp here and there. I would have loved to hear a lot more of this in this record. I feel like he kind of, I don't know if he's necessarily played it safe, but there's definitely tracks that he could have went a little bit more like wild with. But I think that kind of plays into how they sound live. I feel like the tracks that I heard via the I the Mighty tour, and the ones that were singles, I feel like they kind of really held true to how they sound. Even though he was kind of like under the weather, I felt like he still kind of killed it on all these tracks. So definitely love that aspect of this track, and I've always loved his soulfulness and just the way he's able to do stuff, his sort of runs. I feel like he brings a nice sort of R&B flair to his vocals, and it definitely works with what they're going with in this track. So we're going to move into track number 7, which is Just Shy. This one has just really lovely melodic and softer sort of vibes to it, which is a nice change of pace from the sort of rock laden tracks, post-hardcore kind of laden tracks as well. But especially in the verses, you can hear that sort of melodic tendency. The counterplay between the sort of softer verses and the sort of more rock-based choruses, I feel like plays very well. And I like just the more honest and middle range approach that Elliot took in this track. It's definitely something that's unique, and I like that he didn't have to go and just belt out stuff. I like that he had some reserve and kind of did something a little bit different and like kind of played with the vocal strains a little bit, which I appreciate. Just the subtleness and just his underrated approach, I think, works very well in this track. And I think he just does it really well. He's an insanely talented vocalist, so it's something that kind of stuck out to me in this track that he didn't have to go crazy to do something really spectacular in this track. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is 19 grams. This one just grooves. The guitars definitely lead the pack on this track, and it is something of a focal point of this track, and just kind of sticks out throughout the song. And I think it is a great kind of mark to kind of round out what Good Tiger is. I feel like this one definitely, if there was any track that I would say listen to off this record right off the bat, I would definitely say 19 grams or Salt of the Earth. I would say those two are definitely the better of the two, if not the best tracks off the record. And I also like that this one also has more of an Artifacts Pareo sort of vibe to it as well. Really great bounce, awesome structure to this track. And I'm really loving the bridge. I feel like it highlights more of the melodic side of Good Tiger. And I feel like everything that they did in this track just kind of works well and just plays well throughout the entire record. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is Cherry Lemon. This one is kind of an interlude. It really has this nice just melodicness to it, and I definitely feel like it shows off a lot of the skills of Good Tiger, just the backing band, excluding Elliot. And I'd love to hear more of this in just kind of the more written tracks with Elliot. I think that would be really cool. Obviously, there's little like flares, little hints throughout a lot of the tracks off the record, but I feel like this one kind of accents and highlights them in the best way possible in terms of an instrumental. So we're gonna move into the last track, track number 10. I'll finish this book later. This one is a bit of a slower one to start off with, but I like that they tried a lot of different things on this one. I think this one is probably one of the more unique tracks, for sure, along with probably Blue Shift. But I think that this one turned out much better than Blue Shift, in my opinion. But I like that their guitarist Duria. I don't know if I pronunciated that right. If I didn't, I'm totally sorry about that. But he lends his voice on the track between the 1 minute and 5 second mark to the 1 minute and 51, and he's kind of got little sporadic parts throughout the track till the end. And that was nice. I like how it blends well with Elliot's vocals. I definitely feel like they need another vocal kind of presence, and it was nice to hear it in this track in particular. But I would love to hear that sort of exchange in the future records that they do. It would be a nice kind of counterbalance to how awesome Elliot's vocals are, and it would just make it sort of unique in that regard. So definitely like that. The song kind of has a heavier sort of rock, post-hardcore sort of part at the 1 minute and 55 second mark to the 3 minutes and 30 second mark ish. And then it kind of slows down towards the end. But it was a nice change of pace, and I thought it worked out very well. It's a good overall closing track. And I feel like if I was to recommend any tracks, it'd be Salt of the Earth, and it would definitely be 19 grams. I think those two definitely speak in terms of Good Tiger and the type of sounds that you'll be getting from their band for sure. So some pros and cons in this record. I really love Elliot's voice. If I haven't alluded to that enough, I think that this really record kind of sets his voice apart from a lot of other bands that have done maybe a similar sort of genre. I think he just kind of carries his voice, just kind of carries through a track and really cuts through everything. So I like that. Another pro, I like Duryear's singing. I thought he did an amazing job as well, and I'd love to hear kind of more harmonization or more backing vocals from him in the future. In terms of next record, that would be really awesome. Instrumentally, I think it's very solid as well. There are some really awesome groovy sort of tracks, and there's some more melodic tracks which obviously play both sides of the fence, which I really enjoy. There's a great overall energy throughout the track. There are some slower ones, there are some tracks that kind of groove, so there's a nice mix of those two, and there's some really great experimentation. I'd say more or less the last track off the record has probably the most experimentation in terms of what they've done so far. and I love it. I definitely can't speak about how much I enjoyed the last track, and I'd love to hear kind of more of that. But some cons that I have, Sung songs kind of have that sort of similar tonality. I had been listening to this for a little bit, and there were some tracks that I thought were maybe other tracks or things of that nature. So they're a little bit in terms of tonality. I feel like there are some tracks that very are reminiscent of other tracks on this record. And I also feel like it lacks a little bit of diversity as well. I do appreciate that they experimented, but there are some tracks that just kind of feel very like I wouldn't even say uninspired because there are some really great tracks on here. But there were some tracks that just felt very, not they felt very similar to the next. And I think that obviously my two favorites are Solid of the Earth and 19 Grams. I feel like those two are the most different. But there are some tracks that kind of blend and kind of mesh with other tracks. So I would say that that would be my only con to the record. But overall, I really enjoyed it. For kind of skipping over in the first record and getting into this one, I think that it was a good choice. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the older one. I'll definitely be checking that out for sure. But I'm excited to see Good Tiger. I might go check them out on the Protest the Hero tour. But I think they did a really phenomenal job. It kind of blend the kind of post-hardcore rock, and some like even a little bit of electronics here and there. I think it just worked out very well, and I really enjoyed this one. So my overall rating for Good Tigers, We Will All Be Gone, I'm going to be giving it a 9.3 out of 10. I definitely feel like it's one you should check out if you are a fan of Elliot's voice, if you're a fan of what he's done previously. I think you'll enjoy it. Zeliak is one of my all-time favorite bands, and I would highly, highly recommend you guys go check that out if you can. I don't know if they'll be recording anything anytime soon, but I figured, I'll give you guys a little tidbit, so definitely go check out his stuff. He was also in Sky Eats Airplane as well, and I thought he did an amazing job in that band too. So, been following his stuff for a while, and I'm excited to see the progression of what he's doing and just him as an artist. I think he just did a really phenomenal job with this record. And again, I'll hopefully go check them out on this upcoming tour. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the Good Tiger record. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it. But we have plenty of awesome stuff that I will be alluding to hopefully next week. So definitely check back with the channel for that. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that thumbs up. It really does go a long way. And thank you guys for your support. Like I said, my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.